Hello. Today we're going to talk about rotoscoping. It is a process where you take an existing image and change it by tracing over it. There are examples where they have done this in movies and film and other portraits. So to get started, we're going to open up a portrait. It could be of a pet or a person. And I have this one here I'm going to work with, and I chose this one because the shadows are pretty harsh, so that's a good one to work with. It makes it much more dramatic when you're creating a portrait from this. So the first thing you want to do is create a new layer. So this will be your background. This is what we're tracing, and you got to pick which layer do you want to do first. So I'm going to say let's do the face first. And the face consists of midtones, shadows, and highlights, and we could just use those three to get started. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this one face midtones, and this is going to be my base layer for my face, and I'm in this layer. Next thing you want to do is find your free draw pen. Make sure that you're in shape, because we're going to draw shapes into the layer. And then you want to, if you go to your crop tool, you can find the eyedropper tool, and that will allow you to select sample different colors that are in the portrait already. If you want to, unless you want to mix your own color, that's also fine. So I'm going to go back to my pen tool, make sure everything is correct. Take my eyedropper and I'm going to sample maybe right over here. See what that did? It kind of picked a color for me there. If I go back to my pen tool and then I go to my fill, right? You got to make sure you click on this guy here and tell it okay. I like this color right there. That one, I'm going to hit okay. So now I'm in my free pen tool. I should be able to trace over this using this one color. So let's give it a shot. So I'm going to slowly trace, and it doesn't need to be perfect. That's the beauty of using rotoscope as a technique, because it could be kind of exaggerated a little bit and you'll still get some pretty good results. So there we go, we have our first layer here. Okay, if you want, you could move it around if you don't like it, or you can go to your direct select tool and move certain paths if you don't like the way it came out. I wouldn't get too crazy with that. I would just kind of loosely draw it and trace it. Okay, so now what I want to do is make a new layer. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my background. I'm going to make this layer, I'm going to call face shadows. Try to spell it right. Okay, and then this one should actually be on front of this one, right? So this layer is going to be directly on top of this layer. So right now I'm going to turn this layer off. I'm going to go into this layer. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to sample a shadow. Let's find a shadow. It's a little too dark. Maybe I want to go a little lighter. There we go. So I got this color right here. Go to my free draw pen tool, and I'm going to make sure I click on my fill and this guy, and make sure I sample one of the shadows that I picked, maybe this one, and I'm going to hit OK. That means now I can draw in this fill. So I'm just going to follow really where the shadows are, right? Real simple. could even go draw another one, another shape right over here, just exaggerating really where I think the shadows end up. There's one here. Got one down here. See that? So what it did was it combined all of these shapes, created new layers, so we can just obviously merge the layers. So I'm going to select all these layers, left click, actually it's right click, I'm sorry, merge layers. So now it's just face shadows. So I can click on this and see, see where we're at. So what I have so far is very, very abstract, yet you can tell there's a face going on in this picture. Now I'm going to turn these layers off and let's do the highlights. So again, I'm going to take my sampler and I'm going to pick the lightest part I could find. Okay, back here, go up to my fill, click on the color, and then find the highlight. You can also change it here. You can make it lighter if you want. I'm going to make it a little bit lighter, hit OK. And now I'm going to go in and trace over where I see highlights. Really simple. Okay, I see one here, right there. Right, it's pretty highlighted. Obviously, the more time you spend doing this part, the more refined it's going to look. Okay, let's just see what this looks like so far. So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to select, I'm going to hold down Shift and select everything in here. Right click, merge layers. Okay, I'm going to call this face highlights. Now I have to make sure that this is on top, right? Because you're not going to be able to see it, right? So I'm going to move this above shadows. All right, so there you go. You have pretty much a good start, right? Pretty good start. You could also always edit it if you don't like it. So I'll take these off, and I don't like that. Oh, I got to be in the right layer. I could select it. Right? Now it's one layer, so you'd have to go in and erase them by hand. Okay, so this should be enough to get you started, and you want to keep your layers in a really nice orderly fashion so you could keep on tracing over it. I'm going to show you what the end result would look like. So I'm going to open a finished one of that same one that I've done, and this is kind of what this took maybe a few hours to complete, but you could see it's pretty simple. It's not too complicated. I have my layers all, see that? I'm gonna undo that because that's behind, put it in front. So this is basically what you're gonna do. I would totally suggest creating very dark outlines for your last shading technique, because in specific renditions they have very dark outlines, and it really helps pop your portrait. I'll show you what it looks like without the lines and with the lines. Okay, so let's take the lines off. Let me zoom in a little so you can see a little better. See that? It looks nice, but this really helps finish it. Really helps get it to look nice and finished. Okay, so hopefully this is enough to help you get started in creating a rotoscope portrait in Photopea. and good luck. Have fun.